Hey guys. So I've been getting questions about my time at Greater Mercury Comics, and I thought initially I would write like a blog post or something about it, but I think it might be easier to just talk about my experience there and also to share with you my art book, which I have available through my Patreon page right now. But here is a little preview of that. Let me just move my... Get this stuff out of the way. So my art book covers my career starting from 1988 to 1992. And in this book, I've recently added my time at Greater Mercury Comics. And so here's a little preview of that. This is a couple of pages from that book that showcases a few interior pages from Eradicators issue 5 and 6. So these were books that I scripted and inked. They were penciled by Shane White. And so my experience at Greater Mercury Comics was actually pretty good. I was still in art school when I was hired to ink. I think that I signed a 2-issue or a 3-issue contract with them, if I recall correctly. And I was still in school, so it was pretty exciting to graduate from art college and already have sort of a job. I mean, it was a small gig, but for me, this was a big deal because I was a aspiring comic book creator. I was trying to break into comics, and so this was I saw this as a big opportunity. And it was definitely a learning experience. But as far as my experience with Greater Mercury and with Chris Silver, who was really the mastermind behind that publisher, he wrote, I think, pretty much everything. Their characters he created, then he published them. I think he even lettered all of the books using like an early Apple computer. That's why all the lettering is very mechanical looking. But as far as my memory of Greater Mercury, I don't exactly remember how I got the gig. It might have been through Shane. Back then, before the internet, there were really very limited opportunities or limited resources to find comic book publishers and contacts and who to send material to and whatnot. The magazines that were available, that they were kind of trade magazines like Comics Buyer's Guide, which would have a classified section featuring a lot of ads from small publishers, and then there was other magazines like Comics Scene and Comics Feature. Trying to think what else. Amazing Heroes, maybe. I think they might have had a classifieds section also. So anyway, however it happens, that was really your resource back then to get comic book work if you were a total unknown. And I got this gig and started really immediately trying to get work as a writer. And I know I had conversations with Chris Silver about it, somehow convinced him to let me write 2 of the books, which I think he was hesitant because they were his babies, and I'm just this kid, 20 years old, coming in and thinking I can write comics. So, but it was generally a good experience. And in fact, most of my contact was not with Chris. I know we spoke a few times, but it was mainly with a guy named Benny Gugliotti, I think, if I haven't butchered that name. He was sort of his go-to guy. He was the guy that really coordinated things with all of the creators and handled all of that stuff. So I talked with him often, and as I recall, they were all pretty good conversations, just stuff about stories and deadlines and whatnot. Nothing really earth shattering. Um, but anyway, so my time there was for pretty much for like a year, I think, or 2 years. We did 2 issues, and I think during the second issue is when they were starting to um, scale back on their publishing, and maybe even I don't recall if there was actually an announcement that we're going to shutter, like Greater Mercury Comics we're going out of business. I don't recall that because I was pitching stuff to Chris, and I had actually written 2 more scripts, which was going to be this story arc with the Eradicators and some of the other superhero characters in that line. And in fact, those scripts are for sale. I have those for sale on eBay right now because there is apparently a market for this stuff. There are fans of Silverwolf Comics and Greater Mercury Comics who are grabbing up all of these very rare items, and so I have some stuff too that I've kept over the years that I'm listing. But it generally was good. I don't have anything really negative to say about it. In fact, I look back on that and I admire Chris Silver for what he tried to do. This was a very ambitious guy, and he managed to put out this line of indie black and white comics that were kind of popular for its time. And so I think that's really admirable. And I was grateful to get the gig, and I won't speak to the creative aspects of it. I just know that for me, my work it's very crude. It's my earliest published comic book work, but you have to start somewhere, and I'm kind of glad it started there. That was a good place to practice. And but yeah, they shuttered, and I don't recall being told. I just think that was it. And I did get paid for my work for both issues. I don't think Shane got paid for his second issue, and that may have just been because they had run out of money. I don't know, but generally good experience, fond memory of my time at Greater Mercury Comics. And I will also share with you the second page. There's 2 pages, a 2-page section in my art book devoted to the Greater Mercury Comics years. And this was fun to revisit. I actually took this scanned art and cleaned it up a little bit. I didn't do anything. I didn't change anything. I just kind of cleaned it up. And this was issue 6. Shane's cover, my inks. He collared it. And this was a double-page spread from that issue. Going back here, this was issue 5. This was my cover art, and I inked it. I collared it with Dr. Martin, P.H. Martin inks. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Martin dyes, but that was like that was kind of like the go-to paint for comic book colorists back then, and it's pretty sloppy. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I did it, and that was the cover for issue 5, and that's it. Hope this was informative in some way. I don't have any specific stories to tell, no bombshells, no dirt to spill. It was a good experience, and I don't know what became of Chris Silver. I hope that he's out there, and maybe he's still writing, and who knows, maybe we'll see him again. It would be pretty interesting to see him come back into the market someday and try this again. That would be fun to see what that might look like. And that's it. see you later.